Hello everyone and welcome back to Boater Plays Something. We are playing Coffee Talk, and in today's bonus episode, we are going to be reading the story Happily Ever After, Ever After, Ever After on the Evening Whispers. It is a long one, a three-parter, and I've separated it into its own video just in case it's not your jam. You're free to skip it and not miss any important story beats in the game. But if you are interested in what is, in my opinion, an interesting story, if quite bloated for the format, then this is for you. So, I'm Boater. Let's read something. Okay, is there... Happily Ever After, Ever After, Ever After, Part 1. This is a long one. Look at the size of the scroll bar by Freya Fatima. Do I want to grow old with you? No, I don't want to do that. But I do want to be with you, here in this moment, stuck in eternal limbo, in an infinite loop of this exact hour forever? Oh, sorry, but do I want to be with you? Here in this moment, stuck in eternal limbo, and in an infinite loop of this exact hour forever? Hell yeah, I do. That's probably the last time Romeo remembers having a really meaningful conversation with Juliet. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, dear readers. Just like any other story, this one also has a beginning, and it begins with an introduction. Romeo is a young man of 20. He comes from a quite conservative, but not yet out-of-touch family. In other words, they're just like almost every other family in the world. He hates the name his parents gave him, and he hates it even more knowing that his life so far is fulfilling all the cliches of his fictional namesakes. Falling in love with a girl named Juliet is really just the icing on the cliched cake. Juliet is a young woman of 20. She also comes from a quite conservative but not yet out-of-touch family. In other words, they're also just like every other family in the world. She loves the name her parents gave her, although she hates the fact that her life so far is fulfilling half of the cliches of her fictional namesakes. Falling in love with a boy named Romeo is unfortunate, but she has no plans to die stupidly over it. Both of them study at the same university, and they're definitely not the type of people who'd naturally choose to be friends. Fate, however, in the form of a hip, young lecturer with an over-enthusiasm for assigning group projects and an unfortunate sense of humor, is what brings them together. A simple group assignment is what introduces our young Romeo and Juliet to each other. Even after their first fated meeting, and the many, many more meetings required to finish the assignment, there's no sign that Romeo means anything more to Juliet than a friendly acquaintance she's spent a lot of time in the library with. Nor, honestly, does she mean that much more to him. In fact, after she made an ill-judged joke about the literary elephant in the room, she probably means significantly less. Juliet's not a bad name, all considered. You can shorten it to Liette if you don't want your conventional nickname. I mean, I like Jules. Like, Julie is a little but Jules. But as time goes on, and as the group assignments keep coming without the lecturer ever assigning new partners, Romeo and Juliet become closer. They both begin to see things in the other that they hadn't noticed before. Though for Romeo, the fact is rather frightening. How could I fall for somebody like her, and named Juliet no less? I can't accept it. My mind's just playing tricks on me. Again and again, around and around, his thoughts chase themselves whenever he sees her. The day is Monday, and Romeo has a class he needs to attend. Sorry, all of a sudden, like, what's the time? How late are we going with this? I haven't looked at the clock in, I guess, an hour and a half. However, something is different. Normally a relatively anxious fellow, he finds going to class requires a lot of willpower. Today, however, he finds himself hurrying to get there. He knows why, of course, but he refuses to admit it to himself quite yet. The first thing Romeo does when he opens the door is look at a specific table, the table where Juliet always sits. To his unacknowledged disappointment, the table is empty. Fuck, mutters Romeo under his breath. He doesn't curse because Juliet is not there, of course, rather he curses because noticing this was the first thing he did upon entering the room. After sitting in his usual place, Romeo reopens his book and begins reading. Every time someone opens the door, Romeo turns immediately to look and quietly whispers a curse. Again, he's not cursing because he's disappointed it's not Juliet who enters. He's cursing because he turned to look. A few minutes before the class begins, Juliet finally arrives, announcing herself and her friend with a braying laugh as she does so. The sound used to be one of the most annoying sounds in the world, at least as far as Romeo was concerned, but today it brings a small smile to his face. Fuck, curses Romeo again, after he realizes he just smiled at the sound. Is Romeo in love? He probably is, but he doesn't want to admit it. Falling in love with Juliet is dangerous, extremely dangerous. They come from completely different backgrounds, they have different skin colors, they worship different gods. He has no problem with interracial relationships, of course. He doesn't... relationships, of course he doesn't. But he never expected it to happen to him. This simply will not do. I need to talk to you. Romeo looks up. Juliet is standing over his table. Her jaw is set, but her eyes are worried, and he completely forgets all about his own problems. What's up? He asks. Can you keep a secret? It's really important. Sure, I guess I can. Good enough, because I really need someone to talk to. So Juliet sits down and begins telling her story to Romeo. She talks about the problems she's been facing over the last few months, how they affect her study, about how he's not the first person she's talked to about this, and Romeo listens to every word. Eventually, Juliet stops talking and sits quietly. Romeo thinks that she looks somehow lighter than she did before she began talking. He doesn't know how to react to what she told him. He tries giving her some advice, really stupid advice, he thinks as soon as he said it. But he believes it's probably much better than just listening and nodding and watching her walk away. He doesn't think he wants her to walk away from him. He thinks about this. One thing is for sure, Juliet trusts Romeo as a friend. They've shared a secret now. Even though Juliet has shared the same secret with others before him, this still makes Romeo happy. So damn happy. How pathetic am I being happy because someone I like came and told me she's not? Romeo thinks, and then shakes his head like a dog shaking off water. She's not... Oh, because she's not happy. I was like, because she's not pathetic? Because she's not happy. Okay. After sharing everything she'd wanted to share, Juliet starts talking about lighter topics. Soon they're joking freely, the dark mood of earlier almost completely dissipating. Just before Juliet leaves, Romeo asks her something. Why did you tell me all that? Well, I don't really know. I think I can trust you. You're one of those rare few people who can talk to people directly without sugarcoating everything. It's refreshing. She shrugs. I guess that's why. What Juliet said is true, but Romeo finds it amusing that even though he normally speaks directly to everyone he knows, he can't do that with Juliet. He's not himself when she's around, or so he believes. After that conversation, Romeo falls even more helplessly in love with Juliet. It's stupid, he thinks, as someone who rarely falls so hard for anyone, but Juliet is driving him crazy. And the fact that she makes him feel the closest thing to love he's felt in years, yet a big wall of cultures, norms, and other societal traditions stands between them, hurts him even more. That is, of course, if Juliet is even into him anyway. As weeks go by, Juliet and Romeo become closer. I was wondering if you were gonna swap the order there. They start telling each other stories more often, but all of these stories are limited to their courses, their friends, and anything at all besides their feelings for each other. She's not into me, she's just an extrovert, she's friendly with everyone, Romeo keeps thinking. And it's when he's thinking about that suddenly Juliet comes and sits at his table. Is this the first story that Freya hasn't written? I'm pretty sure this is Freya. Yeah, this is still Freya. Like, I'm guessing that she was fired from reporter, but she might still make a few bucks, writing for the fiction column. Where were we? Stories more often. Extrovert. So you said you wanted to tell me something. It's true, he's already sent a message to Juliet, telling her he wanted to talk about something. Oh wow, diving straight in. It's nothing all that important, actually. Come on, it's not like you to be so indirect about things. What's wrong with you, boyo? Romeo actually called Juliet to talk about her attitude recently. She's been weird, at least in Romeo's eyes, and it feels like she's getting farther away, removing herself from any student activities she's usually partaken. Juliet answers all his questions, all his thoughts and concerns about how she seems to be removing herself from all the other side activities she manages to shrug off or easily explain. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm obsessing over every single thing she does, thinks Romeo, while a pit opens up in his gut at the thought. Is that all? Anything else you want to say? She questions him. Fair is fair, after all. Do you know that I used to like you? The words come out of Romeo's mouth out of the blue. He's horrified even as he recognizes it's a lie. He still likes her now. He doesn't even know why he decided to confess his feelings right at this random moment. Never mind why he confessed with half a lie. It wasn't planned at all, but when he heard Juliet say, "Anything else?" Well, it's definitely one thing Romeo's been planning to say to Juliet for the last few thousand eons, or as normal human measures go, since around 8 months ago. Or as normal humans measure time, since around 8 months ago. Juliet shows a flash of surprise and then says, "No, I had no idea at all. Why?" "Why what? Why do you like me? Or did you like me? I mean, there must be a reason." "Oh, of course there is." Romeo opens his mouth to tell her and pauses. He blinks slowly and closes his mouth again. "Or not. I don't know, I think there is, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm talking gibberish." Juliet does not respond to that. Romeo doesn't even dare look at her directly, but he can see out of the corner of his eye that she looks dumbfounded. He takes a breath and opens his mouth again, hoping for a lightning strike, divine inspiration, or instant death. He isn't picky. Okay, I see you as a really strong person, okay? You have a big girly side, but you're also a really strong, independent person. Okay, I get the girly part, but what makes you think I'm strong? Well, just look at how you work with all your assignments and organizations. I definitely could never deal with everything as well as you do. Ever. Oh, come on, everyone has something they're good at. You can do things I can't. That's pretty normal, you know? I know, but still, I'm not sure. That's probably what attracts me to you the most. When he says that, Romeo tries looking at Juliet. Just for a moment. He saw a twitch of a smile on her lips, but dared not even hope. He ascribes it to his imagination instead. "So what's next then?" asked Juliet. "To be honest, I don't know. I said this because I can't keep hiding it forever. I needed to say it to you even though I know it's impossible for me to ask you out considering all the differences between us." "Oh. Of course," Juliet says after a pause. "You don't need to say anything though. I just need to get it out of my system. That's all I wanted to say." "Well, okay then. I have something else to do. You don't have anything more to say, right?" "Yes, no, that's all." Juliet nods and says goodbye, and quickly walks away. After Juliet leaves, Romeo lets out a heavy sigh. "Good work there. That's one hell of a lot of old baggage I just let go, and a whole hell of a lot of new baggage I replaced it with." Here's an interesting fact about our Romeo. During the whole conversation, he hadn't been able to keep himself from shaking. It's an old habit that he just can't let go of. To his relief, they'd been sitting during the whole conversation so he could hide his tremor. Still, even though he feels intense relief after telling Juliet about his feelings, his hands are still trembling. He has to wait a couple minutes before he can walk away himself. So now, after Romeo's long-awaited but ultimately useless confession, what's next for our Juliet and her Romeo? Funnily enough, neither she nor Romeo ever mentioned it again. At least not to each other. Romeo did eventually tell some of his friends about his feelings for Juliet. But what about Juliet? Romeo didn't know anything about how she was coping with this revelation. He expected that she probably told some of her friends as he'd told his. But that doesn't even matter, he tells himself. We're not meant for each other anyway. Watching from the outside, nothing seems to change between them. They still talk about their classes, about their friends, about shows they've watched and books they've read. But they never ever again mention the time when Romeo revealed his feelings to Juliet. At first, Romeo had thought that confessing his feelings would mean letting go of a big boulder inside his heart. As it turned out, it only transformed the boulder into a restless rock monster asking for more. Eventually he realizes, letting Juliet know about his feelings isn't enough. He needs to have her, he wants to hold her tight, he wants to stare into her eyes and tell her he loves her to Pluto and back, wants to hear her say, "I love you too." He wants to kiss her, he wants to run away with her to a place where no one cares about their differences and just sees them as a cute couple in love. He wants to do all good things in life together with her, and more than anything on this earth, he simply wants her. The feeling is killing him. How could she be acting normally after that revelation? Does it mean his feelings mean nothing to her at all? The peak of his emotions come one day when our hero is falling asleep. Suddenly, his body is drenched in sweat, his heart beats too fast, and his thoughts only run to one thing. Juliet. He wants... No, nothing so prosaic. He needs Juliet. He doesn't care about anything else. About the traditions, about their families, about anything. There's only one thing he needs to do tomorrow, and that is to confess his feelings, again, to Juliet. This time, however, he's going to ask her out. If she feels the same way, he will ask her to just give it a try and fight the world together. He resolves that he is going to take a leap of faith, and it will be the first thing he does the next time they meet. To be continued. This is just so long and not great. Yeah, it's a lot longer than any of the previous ones. It is... The pattern of previous stories is that another shoe will drop. And I kind of feel like the next part is just going to be like one paragraph of a huge subversion. I guess we'll see. The other thing that kills me is that we probably won't actually read the next one until next time we play this game. Unless I keep playing past 12, which I might do, I don't know. Happily Ever After, Part 2. It doesn't happen the next time Romeo and Juliet meet. When Romeo sees her, he knows something isn't right. After that, each time he sees her, he feels uncomfortable, almost afraid. Our hero isn't scared of much, but he can't explain how she makes him feel, as though she's surrounded by a fierce, powerful aura that keeps him from approaching. It takes a few days for whatever it is to fade. When that sense of danger finally eases up, Romeo finds he has the courage to approach her. Cunningly, he waits until the end of a night class when both of them are ready to go home. Hey, Jules! Hey, there it is. You heading back? Let me drive you home. No, it's fine. I'll just call an Uber. I have something I need to tell you, though. Her expression quickly changes to one Romeo's never before seen. An uncomfortable-looking mixture between happy, sad, and angry. He finds he doesn't know what to call it. Hadgree. She peers at him. What's it about? It's about the thing I told you a few months ago. The slight smile he saw when he first confessed his feelings returns to her face. Okay, let's go for a drive. I know a good place to talk. Juliet directs Romeo sporadically, and they chat normally to fill the intervening time until they reach what she reveals to be their destination, a large, dark, empty park, where she's going to possess his spirit. I didn't know there was a park around here. You know nothing, Romeo. Hey, what? You said you don't read or watch Game of Thrones. It's all over the internet, my dude. Good point, well made. Our heroes climb over the locked gate and meander slowly along the paths until they find a bench, and an unspoken decision has them both sit down at the same time. By this point it's close to midnight. The drive has been long, and he'd driven slower than usual to stretch out their time together. The sky is bright with stars, while the full moon hangs heavy on the horizon. A warm and gentle breeze brings with it the scent of wet earth and green growing things, and far distant clouds tease them with the idea of rain before morning. It is, Romeo feels, perfect, as though God had created it especially for them in this moment. So, says Juliet, lowering her gaze from the milky splash of stars above them to meet his eyes. What do you want to talk about? And Romeo thinks, what the hell, and jumps right in. I told you I liked you, you remember? Yeah. It was a lie. Her eyes narrow. What do you mean? Oh, careful, dear Romeo, you should not play with a woman's heart. I still like you. I never stopped liking you. And every day I like you more, and I don't think I can go another day without telling you how I feel. Oh, I know. His jaw snaps shut and he blinks rapidly. This is not what he thought she would say. What, is it that obvious? No, but it was kind of easy to guess. Okay, so yeah, there's that. And, you know, when I first told you how I felt, I thought it would help me clear my head. I wanted it to. But since then, it's haunted me. Well, why did I want that? I think of you, and I want to see you. I see you, and I want to talk to you. He continues, laying bare all the things he's been thinking of these past few weeks, culminating in an impassioned plea. I know it probably won't end well, but I want to be with you. I want us to try. Juliet takes his hand and squeezes it, feels the tremble in his fingers and says nothing about it. Romeo, I like you, she begins, and his heart near bursts. I like you a lot, and not only as a friend, but you know that, with our backgrounds and our families, it's impossible for us to be together. I know that, Juliet, I know, but I really like spending time with you. Whenever I talk to you, I feel so happy and so scared. Why would you feel scared? Because I don't want to say anything that will make you think less of me. I want to look perfect in front of you, even though whenever we're together, it feels like I can only show all my imperfections. Hey, nobody's perfect. They sit quietly for a moment, still holding hands. Romeo stares at their intertwined fingers, while Juliet watches the breeze ripple through the trees. It still feels weird, or heroine muses, almost to herself. You told me that you liked me and I thought, it could never work. And then you said the same and I was disappointed somehow. Now here you are telling me to forget about the rules and I'm the one saying they're important. Oh, tell me about it. I don't even know where this is all coming from. You don't like what I like and I don't like what you like, and please don't get me started on the fact that your favorite book is the single worst thing I've ever read. Huh? You mean The Secret? Yes! Oh god, please let's not talk about it right now, okay? She tilts her head back and laughs, and Romeo remembers that he used to hate that sound a long time ago. Okay, let's not talk about it, but if you know the relationship won't go well, why do you keep telling me how you feel? Why don't you just try to forget me? I've tried, he sighs, squeezing her hand gently. But every conversation with you is enough to make me remember that you mean so much to me. You don't listen to explosions in the sky, but you're what I think of whenever I do. You don't play video games as much as me, but you on my team is what I want the most whenever I play a multiplayer game. We pray to different gods, but your face is the one that appears whenever I pray for a good future. Juliet doesn't say anything. She just looks into his eyes while listening to everything he's been keeping in his head and his heart for a long time. Before this, I always thought that when I fell in love with someone, it would be a person that I wanted to grow old with. Do I want to grow old with you? No, I don't want to do that. But I do want to be stuck with you, here in this moment. Oh, I made this mistake when I didn't intro the first part! No, I don't want to do that. But do I want to be stuck with you, here in this moment, stuck in eternal limbo, in an infinite loop of this exact hour forever? Hell yeah, I do. Neither Romeo nor Juliet speak for some time after that. They just keep staring at each other. They don't know what it is, but they surely feel something strange, something magical is happening between them now. A delicate thing which twists in the air around them, young and oh so fragile. Do you love me? Juliet asks quietly. I'm not sure, Romeo answers. But if it's not love, then I don't know what is. But if it is love, why don't you want to grow old with me? Because it is just love. You are such a weirdo. I don't know why I ever fell in love with you, says Juliet. Right at that moment, Romeo feels joy in his heart. A tsunami of happiness sweeping through his body, destroying all the baggage that had been messing with his head and heart for so many months. But then reality hits as suddenly as the joy. Everything happens in a single instant. In just one moment, Romeo feels the greatest happiness and the greatest sadness he's ever felt in his life. Hey, I may not be worth you sacrificing everything, especially your family, but if love is really that special, then maybe it'll give us another chance to be together. Even though maybe it can only happen in another life when we're both cats, says Romeo. Did you just quote Vanilla Sky at me? I can't believe you did that. That's hilarious you said that. You know I hate that movie. It's a great movie. How the hell did I manage to fall in love with you again? Both of them start to laugh together, continuing until all the laughter drains into simple smiles. A simple, beautiful curve on their lips that shows a deeper meaning, only for the two of them. I love you, says Romeo. I love you too, I guess, answers Juliet. They sit closer now while holding hands. Juliet puts her head on Romeo's shoulder. Is it worth it? She asks. For now, right at this moment, it's totally worth it. But whether that feeling will last as time goes by, as more people find out about it, I don't know. Juliet sighs quietly. Life sucks sometimes. Life sucks most of the time. That's why I want to make this moment last forever, if that's even possible. It's possible if we believe it. Is that what that weird book taught you? Laughs Romeo. Shut up, Juliet answers and pinches his hand. They stay silent again for a while. Hey, kiss me. The words come from Juliet. Romeo doesn't really know how to react to that. Why? He asks. I've heard people say that a kiss is a magical thing. It could stop time or take you to the future in an instant. I've always heard that story. I just thought it was silly, though. The situation we're stuck in is pretty silly, too, you know. Good point, he allows. Well made. So. They stare at each other. They lean in, close their eyes. When their lips touch for the first time, it's the strangest sensation either of them has ever felt. Everything feels so magical. It feels as if time has stopped, only for them. as if they're in an infinite loop of that exact moment. To be continued. Part 3. We're going to read part 3. And then next time, and for those of you watching on YouTube, next episode, we'll come back to this day. Happily ever after, ever after, ever after. Oh, time loopy stuff? Part 3. Romeo comes awake with a gasp, his mind already whirling as he tries to make sense of what's happening. Was it just a dream, he thinks? Please forgive him, dear readers, he's barely awake. He has no idea how or when he got home, but he's still wearing yesterday's clothes, and he experiences the unwashed, uncomfortable feeling that comes with waking after falling asleep fully dressed. Then he remembers, Juliet, what happened to her? He rifles through blankets and pockets until he finds his cell phone and immediately fires off a message to her. He won't admit it, will barely remember it through the haze of panic, but he spends the next 14 minutes and 10 seconds staring fixedly at it until it vibrates in his hand and he drops it to the floor. Romeo! Juliet's voice is muffled by the carpet, but he doesn't think he's ever been so relieved to hear it. Where are you? Are you alright? I'm fine. What about you? I'm okay. We need to talk. Something's definitely different. Romeo opened his mouth to agree before he even realizes how he feels. He's been so weighed down by his feelings for so long that he hasn't noticed that something changed until Juliet brought it up. Waking up has been bad for so long, but today feels different. Today feels good. When Romeo arrives at the coffee shop, Juliet's already there. She waits while he orders an Americano, patiently sipping her orange juice until he joins her. So, Romeo says as he seats himself opposite Juliet, what happened last night? She shrugs, shakes her head, the picture of honest confusion. I'm not sure, but I felt kind of light when I woke up this morning. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. I feel like a part of me is missing. She nods in agreement and they're quiet for a time. Juliet plays with her straw, the paper melting quickly in the icy remnants of her drink. Nice detail of the modern day. Do you... She trails off and tries again. Do you actually remember what happened last night? Kind of? Romeo frowns and grimaces. I'm not sure, though. They were totally abducted by aliens, guys! How do you feel about me now? Asks Juliet. He pauses to consider. I don't know. I still like you. A lot, in fact. But it's certainly different kinds of feeling to the last few months. That's exactly how I feel. He sighs explosively. What the hell happened? Juliet leans in, holds his gaze, lowers her voice. I'm not sure myself, but I have this theory. Maybe, and I know it sounds wild, but hear me out, just maybe the parts of us that fell in love with the other somehow left us last night. They separated themselves from this world, making their own where time loops. Loop is a verb, not a noun here. And time is the noun, not an adjective. They separated themselves from this world, making their own, where time loops an exact moment over and over and over again. Romeo looks her in the eye without blinking for a long moment, then bursts out laughing. You're a complete madwoman, you know that? That's just, you're not even the one who likes sci-fi and fantasy. Oh, shut it, boyo, she huffs up and crosses her arms and leans back. No, seriously, he waves a hand at her. The fact that theory came out of your mouth is crazier than the theory itself. Her lip twitches, and she's laughing with him, and for a glorious moment the air is filled with pure and uncomplicated good humor. When the laughter winds down, they each find that they can't stop grinning at each other, and it's beautiful, just like it used to be. A thought occurs to Romeo, and he opens his mouth, and Juliet immediately points a finger at him. Shut up! He closes his mouth, but keeps grinning, hands held up in surrender. You can't say it isn't possible, though, she defends herself with a wry shrug. Romeo tilts his head. Nothing's impossible. So what now? What now what? I mean, what happens to us now? He looks around and shrugs. We just live normally, I guess. It's been months, if not eons, since I could talk to you normally like this, and honestly, it feels awesome. She laughs, and it's so much easier than it's been in a long time. Yeah, I know. She smiles at him. So we're good then? We're better than good, I guess, answers Romeo. Good point. Juliet nods. Well made. After that, life goes on for Romeo and Juliet. They're still good friends. They both found their loves, the ones who share their interests. It doesn't force them to sacrifice too many things in life. It still makes them feel like the happiest person on earth. They grow old together, as good friends, not as lovers. But what about the Romeo and Juliet who burn with love for each other? Readers, I'll tell you, that couple is still sitting on their bench in the park on that clear and perfect night, and they'll stay there until the end of time. They've created their own world without other people meddling, judging, forcing compromises. For the rest of eternity, they'll have each other in their pure, naive young love, and nothing will ever change that. Some people say that, on a clear night, with the promise of dawn rain, when the Milky Way flows across the sky and the full moon hangs low, you can see a young couple sitting on a bench in the park, but only out of the corner of your eye, and only if you've room for romance in your soul. Is it true, you ask me? Does it matter, I reply? Surely it doesn't matter to anyone else on Earth, and it certainly doesn't matter to them. So yeah, that was Brunch with Bodu today. I'm glad that we read through that. I like that Romeo and Juliet story. It could have been 2 shorter parts. It got very florid with language, and I have a theory that someone else at the paper wrote that, and they just put Freya's name on it for the illusion of normalcy.